Welcome all sports fans, all YouTubers, Facebookers, all social media across the nation. Hey, this is Uneducated Sports Talk, and we brought it back for season 2. This
Can't
is
wait.
College Casual Football Talk, presented by myself, Clayton, and that's Brian Wilkinson.
Hey, it's cool.
I thought you could catch that a little bit, but no, it's all good. Hey, we're back. It's all good. Hey, we're back though for season 2, and college football is we know we waited a couple weeks, but we are in week 3 coming Saturday, and a lot of things happen week 1, week 2. We'll break all that down and what we think about week 3 coming up, the game. So first of all, let's get into last week's week 2 games. We had the big matchup, Texas A&M against Clemson, and we all know how that went down. Just get your thoughts on Clemson's 2-point win over Texas A&M.
It's a solid win. It's a really solid win. The big thing to remember here, Jimbo Fisher, new coach at Texas A&M.
Right.
But these two guys have been going at it for almost a decade at this point. They know each other really, really, really well. The biggest thing that, honestly, I took away from this game is Kevin Sumlin just squandered a job, basically.
Right.
Because Jimbo stepped in with Kevin Sumlin's guys and nearly beat a perennial top 5 team, and he didn't really reach those kind of heights.
And you got to kind of wonder if Kevin Sumlin was on that team. Is he still the head coach of that? How would that go out? They might have gotten blown out. You know, you saw this as a game like ho-hum. It's a night game, so it's going to be talked about because week 2 didn't have a lot of
week 2 is
great
always
games.
a dead.
Yeah, week 2 is always a dud for everybody, but this was the marquee game, and hey, it lived up to the hype that it got because Texas A&M, they're all about the crowd and the big the 12th man, and Clemson came in and they started off pretty good against them, and I thought okay, a blowout, and they had that quarterback that I call him Sunshine. I don't know his name, I forgot his name, but he was the ranked number 1 and 2 quarterback, number 16 for Clemson. He came in every now and then to I guess give his shot at being a starting quarterback for next year probably because we all know that their quarterback now is going to be the starter when it comes down to crunch games. But
if you got 2 guys,
in
college, if you got 2 guys, you might as well play them. Any sort of advantage you can get over your opponent, whether if they got a game plan for 2 guys, you can use that. You can use that in college. If they got a game plan for 2 different style of quarterbacks, that's a huge problem for a defensive coordinator.
It's not a bad loss for Texas A&M.
No,
this is actually a great loss, and we don't really put that like in categories, but it's a great loss. One, you're in the SEC, and it's tough to play Clemson all early, but there's no let's be honest, there's no playoff implications with those guys with Texas A&M, but to get off on a good footing of this season to where when Jimbo gets his guys in for the next couple of years, it's a stepping point. You can say, hey, we went into Clemson. We played against Clemson, the number, I think, 2 team at the time, and we lost by 2 points. That's a great, motivational speech.
I definitely wasn't expecting this team to come out and perform as strongly as they did. This is Jimbo's first year. I was expecting a little bit of a lull because Texas A&M hasn't been a relevant team under Kevin Sumlin, so you're thinking it's the same guys. Right. There's some point in there where you just think it's really the talent level.
Same guy, different coach.
This game proved that it wasn't. Jimbo is here to coach, and Texas A&M could become a threat a lot faster than a lot of people were anticipating.
They can. I do like Texas A&M and the SEC within the next couple of years. Outside of Bama, I think Texas A&M is probably on the rise in the SEC because, as you can see, the last 2 or 3 years now, SEC is kind of, coming down to, whatever. There are also more games besides Texas A&M and Clemson. We had Stanford against USC, and Stanford came out with a 17-10 win. 2 ranked teams, we know that. And USC has actually had Stanford's number the last couple of years. But this year, I know they played pretty early in the Pac-12. But kind of a sloppy game. 17-10, though. That's Stanford's kind of game.
It is.
And
always
we saw USC, and people like myself last year had USC pretty high. But this year, USC is already pretty much out of the playoffs after week 2. Stanford still 2-0. Anything to make out of this game?
But what do you do? What do you do with the Pac-12 if you're the CFP committee? Like, Washington already lost.
Right.
I mean, Washington was the darling of this conference. If they were going to make it in at the end of the season, it was going to be Washington. Well, they lost to Auburn at the start of the season. Not a bad loss.
Not a bad loss at all.
That means that they still have to run the Pac-12 gauntlet, which
yeah.
has proven to be really hard for everybody in that conference. Now, I mean, Stanford's 2-0 now, but we could turn flip the table in a couple of weeks.
Got to face Stanford, Washington State, and USC.
Yeah, it's crazy. So Stanford has to be the favorite right now, but as far as where is this conference going to go? They're kind of just falling apart.
Yeah, tough loss for Washington. We'll talk about that in just a minute. But the Pac-12, it seems like it's already done, and it sucks that a conference is already like from the top four. But with Washington losing, like you said, they have to go run the table. Stanford, we kind of know they're not going to run the table. They're just not. They don't have the superstar talent to hang with, to go undefeated for a whole entire year, including the Pac-12 championship. So, it's kind of done already. But we kind of expected it, though. We didn't see outside of now. If Washington wins against Auburn,
this is a whole different story.
It was still a sloppy game, though. That game was sloppy penalty-wise. I mean, they combined for like 29 penalties that were accepted, So I'm like, okay, that was definitely a preseason game. But you want to win that preseason game because you have to win that, So Walsh came in, and they can say that, it was kind of a away game as well because Auburn fans packed that thing up. I mean, out of the 70-something thousand, there are only like 5,000 Washington.
There were a lot of orange shirts in that building.
It was. So, I mean, that's another great loss, but now you have to run the table.
You have to run
and you have to hope. And you got to hope that Auburn stays relative, too, for the next at least month and a half. Because if Auburn comes out and loses 2 SEC games, then that win they got against Washington is irrelevant, and that loss for Washington was irrelevant to it.
Right.
So that's tough, man.
Pac-12 is on the up and up, though. They got a lot of good coaches coming in this season, so a lot of new regimes coming in. Chip Kelly's back. Kevin Sumlin's in the Pac-12 again. Herm Edwards coming out of the booth to come and coach at Arizona State. You've still got Chris Peterson and Mike Leach coaching there as well. So the Pac-12 on the whole is looking up, just not so much this season.
Yeah. Well, let's talk about our thoughts. We did miss week 1 and week 2, so let's talk about our thoughts about those weeks and what did we come out of that for week 1. So I'll let you start first.
My biggest point for week 1 and 2 was the LSU Tigers. You're talking about that SEC division and that sort of steady decline they were going through. Well, LSU came out and made a statement.
They did. A big one.
Absolutely blasted Miami, who was ranked as high as number 3 last season. They high expectations. They came in this season ranked at number 8. Absolutely blew them out of the water. That defense is... defense is going to be one of the best defenses in the country this season.
Miami isn't the most scariest offense when it comes down to their offense, but at the same time, it's a new season. Everyone's on edge. Everyone's on buzz, so you just never know what happens. But LSU came out and actually made a big statement. I was surprised. Now, I did say, I wish we'd have started this show a couple weeks ago. I did say LSU was going to win the game. And I felt strongly about it just because of Miami's poor offense. And being a neutral field as
you
well.
always think with Coach O and LSU, you're going to think it's going to be a down and dirty. It was going to be, Miami with the turnover chain. It was going to be a close game because they tend to play those tight games. And this wasn't that at all.
No, you're right.
LSU came out and absolutely dominated and made a nice big statement. And we'll talk a little bit more about the Tigers for next week.
Yes, yes. But my biggest thing is coming out is Oklahoma. Everyone thought I was going to say Alabama, and which rightfully so. Alabama's in a whole different class right now. But Oklahoma caught my attention. They haven't lost a beat since losing Baker Mayfield.
Fair.
I mean, they came out and basically 2 big wins. They kind of were shaky with UCLA in the first half or the first quarter, and after that, just routed them. So I like Oklahoma, and the Big 12 doesn't really scare me. So
not at all.
You can kind of think that Oklahoma's going to take care of that division, that conference, and then make it out into the top 4. Just early thoughts. I do like Oklahoma, and they're putting up 60 plus and 40 and 50. So I do like where they're coming from. And Chip Kelly brings that offense to UCLA, and they had to make some adjustments at half against that offense, and after that they shut them down. But I do like Oklahoma, and playing against UCLA, a non-conference opponent who's pretty decent. That's a tough game to play in week 2, and Oklahoma showed that, hey, we still got it. So I'm excited to see about those guys. And Alabama is obviously the cream of the crop. We all know about that. Just quickly on the situation with Tua and Hurts, who do you think should be the starting quarterback? And did Nick Saban make the right decision by putting Tua as starting quarterback?
I think you should play them both.
Okay.
Honestly, I think if you got, again, I'm going to go back to that.
Right.
If you have the ability, play both guys. Tua is going to be your passing quarterback. He's going to be your air guy. Jalen Hurts is going to be your ground guy. Even though teams know that, they still have to game plan for both, and you still have to be able to read your keys and be able to make sure you stay on your contains and stay on your assignments. That just adds so much of a dimension to an offense when you're talking about an Alabama offense that has been struggling. So if you can kind of take that advantage and work with it, that's absolutely fantastic from a sort of psychological game planning perspective of the game. Now, down to the actual two quarterbacks, it's really still just a toss-up one way or the other. I know Jalen Hurts has had some down periods over the end of last season, and Tua came in and did the stuff in the championship game. He had a great crimson and white game. But he's still developing. Jalen Hurts brings that. He knows. He's got that experience.
Yeah.
He can come in and lead. Tua's still kind of learning. That being said, you definitely cannot deny what the man can do with his arm.
I'll say this.
Play them both.
This is probably the best. Tua is probably the best quarterback I've ever seen Nick Saban with, to be honest. And that's kind of sad because I think Nick Saban, he should have these godlike quarterbacks coming to him. It just doesn't happen. But Tua has mobility. I think it was fine. He should have announced it. Look, everyone knows he wanted to go to Tua as a starting quarterback to start the season off, but kind of hurting Jalen Hurts. Didn't want to hurt Jalen Hurts, but at the same time, I think he made the right decision by actually saying, okay, Tua's our quarterback starting now. They played against, who was that non-Division III team they played this week? Anyways, they blew him out, but Hurts got him there, which kind of hurt his chances of being a starting quarterback somewhere else, but knowing Nick Saban with the transfer rules, he doesn't do transfers like that. So if Jalen Hurts plays 4 games, he can't be eligible for next year to play quarterback for somebody else. But that's just a whole other story with that. But I got out of that Oklahoma being dominant and Alabama being overly dominant, And as of right now, we kind of got what we want to see outside of Clemson. But we kind of know it's already shaping up for the playoffs early.
Shaping up very early.
If Auburn is the biggest threat, obviously to Alabama, I believe if Auburn can somehow sneak out a victory against Alabama late in the year, we got things going. But how Alabama, that might be the first loss and still get in the playoffs.
Could be, which begs the other question, since we're already talking about the Pac-12 might be out. You have 2 SEC teams. Obviously Alabama. If Alabama has one loss, even if they don't play in the championship, that doesn't matter. We proved that last season. It doesn't matter at all. So you're talking about, in all earnesty, probably 2 SEC squads. Maybe Oklahoma. That's not a given them being in the Big 12.
And even Clemson is not a given either.
Clemson's not a given. What if you had? What if you had like Ohio State and Penn State?
Yeah,
what if you had SEC Big 10?
There you go. And
what do you do about that?
Man, it's as of right now, if I had to early predictions, I'm thinking Bama, Ohio State, Oklahoma. You could probably throw Clemson in there just for sakes, but also another SEC team as in Auburn or LSU if they continue to do. Look impressive.
Don't forget about those Bulldogs.
Yeah.
They've been looking strong.
I'm so sorry, Georgia.
Off on the east side.
So if anything,
the other SEC division.
If my top 4 teams is obviously Bama, Georgia, Oklahoma, and then we can throw Lord, who am I missing? Alabama, Georgia, Oklahoma, and
I'd say it's Clemson right now.
Clemson right now, just for now. Those will be the top 4 teams you could think of. But whatever it is right now, it's too early, and we'll find out week 6, week 7. Start when the committee starts coming in and talk about that thing. So let's talk about this week's matchups. We got some dandies outside of last week. It was just so let's go with what's your main one? Let's go with your
my main one as a Tigers fan is going to be LSU Auburn, the Tiger match. This is going to be the real. This is going to be the real test. I told y'all I was high on LSU after the week 1 drubbing of Miami. Well, I'm not quite so high on them. I need to see in this game, if they're going to win this game, absolutely have to be better on third down. Third down was absolutely atrocious. Absolutely have to keep the foot on the gas pedal. All right, they got out to a huge 33-3 lead at the half, and then they won the game 33-17. That's not what you want to see, especially in college. You cannot let up, because if you let up against a team like an Alabama, you let up against a team like an Auburn, they're gonna beat you. They're gonna win. You cannot go into run mode. That's not going to work. You got to keep that foot on the gas pedal, because Auburn's going to keep throwing. They're going to keep running. They're going to keep rolling. Alabama's going to keep rolling. You have to absolutely have to be better third down. Absolutely have to keep the foot on the gas pedal.
Who do you have winning this game?
Winning this game is tough. The funny thing is, coming into this season, I had this pegged as an Auburn win.
Okay.
Coming into the season, I had this pegged as an Auburn win. After that first week, this match is a lot more even than I thought it was.
I remember last year, too. LSU beating Auburn.
On the last play of the game.
Yeah, so, I mean, they had the squad to hang with Auburn, obviously.
They do. I'm going to take my boys. I think I'm going to give it to them on the merit of the defense. Once again, I think it's going to be a defensive win, because LSU's safeties are absolute ball hawks. They come up in the box. They tackle. Mm-hmm. The guys on the outside, you can't throw on them. But those pass rushers, those edge rushers that LSU has, absolute game changers. I don't think Auburn is going to be able to run the ball, and that offense at Auburn starts with running the ball. Even though they run a big spread formation, that offense starts with pounding the rock.
Well, good, because I'm going with Auburn. Let's go. So that's our Team B-Dub versus Team C-Los. He's going with LSU. I'm going with Auburn. Let us know who you think is going to win that game. That is our game of the week, that kind of thing. But a bigger game as well, or on the same level. We have Ohio State versus TCU. I'm more interested in that game. It's in Dallas Stadium, Arlington, Texas. It's going to be rocking out there. It's going to be a tough matchup, because TCU is, every year, TCU seems to always be in the playoff hunt toward the very end. But I think TCU has the guys to at least keep up for 3 quarters with Ohio State. Now, we've seen Ohio State be dominant so far to start the season off. And credit to them, and Urban Meyer being suspended and everything, and they're just rolling with it. They don't even care. So I'm very interested into this matchup. I'm going to go with Ohio State still win this game. Although TCU, very underrated defense. They're known for defense 4, 5, 6 years ago. Now they're more towards their offense, but their defense is still nothing to be, to spit on. So I got Ohio State, but it'd be very closer to what the people think. I think it'll be one of those 28-24 games, something dramatic.
This game was really crazy last year too. Don't forget about that.
I forgot they played it.
TCU was going to win this game until the last quarter of the game, like you said.
I totally forgot about that to be on the show.
Again, this is going to be basically a home game for TCU. They're like an hour or 2 up the road from actual Arlington Stadium. I'm still going to go with Ohio State. Yeah. Even though this was a close game, I think it's going to be a close game again.
Yeah.
But the guy that Ohio State has running their offense now is absolute killer as far as college quarterbacks go. This guy is about as lights out as you can get. Not to mention the running that they can do and things like that. He's got the vertical arm. He can actually bring that spacing element to Urban Meyer's offense, where he can throw that ball deep and open up those running lanes on the short side that TCU's defense is going to have trouble working with.
I think Ohio State versus TCU, in my opinion, is a bigger game, playoff implications, than LSU and Auburn.
Absolutely.
I think because
Ohio State has
whoever wins this game, that is a statement win, period. If Ohio State comes into this quote-unquote away game against TCU, and they win that is a statement win. And with the talk about the SC on the downpour, the Big Ten isn't so hot either. Michigan isn't, and we got Michigan State. Did Michigan State lose to Arizona State?
No, they play this week.
They play this week, you sure?
Or
we'll talk. We'll find out. We'll tell you guys. But I remember Arizona State about to beat Michigan State, and I had to go clubbing. But but although the Big Ten doesn't scare me, like it should. You got Ohio State, and I think everybody else is kind of like outside of Well, you know there's no Michigan.
No love for Wisconsin.
No love for Wisconsin. Never. Wisconsin would smash their side of the division every year, go to a big game and get drubbed. I'm tired of seeing that.
All right, what about
last year they didn't get drubbed, but I mean they still lost though.
What about them other guys in blue? Penn State.
Penn State, they don't look good to me right now. They started off. I mean, I know you lost Saquon Barkley and you lost a lot of guys on defense that I didn't even know about. Maybe they didn't get their footing together, but as of right now, they've been shaky. To start the year off, when they played Appalachian State, they had to go to overtime to beat those guys in week 1. That's tough. I mean, Appalachian State
is tough.
Yeah, Appalachian State is one of the better Division II schools out there.
They're D1.
No, they're D1. Excuse me. They're D1 because they will beat a lot of Division II schools. Yeah, and to beat Michigan, they proved that was a long time ago now. We're old now.
All right, so here's a good question. Just a quick side note.
Go ahead.
Is there another conference besides the SEC that you think has a potential to set 2 squads in? Then, if you're not high on the Big Ten, if you're not high on anybody else,
that is tough. I got 2 scenarios. It could be either the Big 12 or the Big 10. I'm saying that obviously not the Pac-10. I mean Pac-12. Out of the Big 10, it had to be Ohio State and Penn State.
All right,
those 2 guys. But one's going to beat the other, and then it'll have to be in the Big 12 if TCU can win this game and go on a roll against Oklahoma.
Yeah.
That'll be the only outside of that, and I don't really see that going on because the guys kind of favor the big SEC schools. So if one kills each other, it's kind of like you're dead already.
Yeah, and it's funny that you mentioned that because the Big Ten right now looks kind of like the SEC from 10 years ago.
Yeah.
They're really stacked on that Legends or whatever side.
They changed it now.
They are stacked on that one side with Ohio State, Michigan State, Penn State, and Michigan all in that division, which looks exactly like the SEC West when you had Alabama, LSU, Auburn, Ole Miss all in the same division. So,
we have Ole Miss versus Alabama. Alabama's first real test because Louisville was not a test. Let's just be honest. You can't marquee a game against Alabama #1 versus Louisville unranked. So,
you got the same.
Ole Miss seems to have a way with Alabama. If they lose, they find a way to stay in the game for at least 2 quarters. It could be a good game. Alabama would destroy them, but
they don't really have the dual threat quarterback.
You're right.
In those kind of games. Not a knock on Ole Miss at all because the guy they got running that off they're running over people. If you haven't watched the film on that,
they are.
Go watch it.
They're
steamrolling people in that offense. But this is Alabama that we're talking about, so I'm not even really worried. To be honest, I'm not super interested in that game.
We got Texas versus USC. Not really a high marquee game, but it's something that we're very interested in. Texas
Much
coming
more
out.
interested in this game.
Yeah, Texas. They came out and lost to Maryland. It seems like a recurring theme every year for them now to lose to Maryland in the beginning. But how your take on Texas and USC?
I like these home and home series scheduled where you get a lot of these games in a row, particularly this one. Obviously, everybody knows it dates back to 2005, Vince Young and Matt Leinart and how that game went down. And then it came back to last season with everybody's sort of golden boy, Sam Darnold, looking very human in this game.
Yes, he did.
Right up until the end.
Yeah.
Now, obviously, he doesn't play for USC anymore, and Texas squad is a lot different as well. But Texas returns a lot more people that played in that game than USC does.
Right.
However, they did falter against Maryland. The defense looks kind of sketchy. Defense for USC looks kind of sketchy. I'm thinking this is going to be a very interesting game.
Yeah, I'm actually going with Texas. I'm going with Texas to win. I think Texas is going to pull off the upset, I think Texas, we see the last couple of years that they play better to their competition. They play tough against the better teams, and of course they play the worst teams. They play to their side. So I got Texas winning this game in a close defensive game. I'm gonna say a weird 22-17. I don't know why it just popped in my head.
22-17.
22-17.
All right. I'm not as set on who I think is going to win this game. I think this is a really important game for Tom Herman in Texas because the boosters out there are absolutely volatile. And he's already lost to Maryland twice. He's also lost to USC. If he loses again, this will be a second time. But Texas isn't playing for anything. They started the season unranked. They started the season ranked and they lost to Maryland, which means they're now unranked. So they're not really playing for anything, especially in the Big 12. USC can still be playing for something. But that's going to be their fuel for winning this game. I think they will go ahead and win this game on the back of that, because if they lose this game, their season, you can kiss the CFP goodbye, because they're not going to look at you with 2 losses.
No, they were not. And who the losses came to. So, well, every year we start off with the rankings that come out, 1 through 25, and everyone's so geeked up. And like we saw, Texas is ranked, and then just like that, they're unranked. I want to ask you, how important, or what do you base the AP rankings when you first see them? Is it very important to you, or it doesn't really matter?
I like to take the AP rankings with a grain of salt. Personally, they don't mean anything anymore, per se, where the AP used to have a championship that they could get out and things like that, so they don't really mean anything anymore. But those guys do dominate September, because, as we noted, the CFP doesn't come out with their rankings until October, which is what they should do for competitive purposes. So this is really what us fans have to really gauge by. There are a lot of teams in football, so having a top 25 of college football, having a top 25 ranking is nice. It lets you know kind of where you fall relative to other teams they're playing around. Once you get sort of into week 4 or 5,
right?
That's when the AP rankings start to kind of work out a little bit better. The CFP rankings, when they're early, do tend to mirror the AP rankings, because they've been doing this for a long time. The first AP rankings came out in 1939.
Dang.
A lot of you weren't even
thought
born.
of. Your grandparents weren't even
great-great-grandparents haven't even been around that long. That being said, I kind of use it as a little sort of starting barometer for where you're going to end up, what kind of respect, which is a term that I haven't used around here a lot, but as a Tigers fan, our team tends not to get a lot of respect from those guys. When we do have large wins like that one against Miami or whatever, we tend to be overlooked a lot. And again, since the CFP early on does kind of tend to mirror that, it sort of tends to spill over a little bit. So I kind of look at really how high people are moving, how high and low people are moving, what is the AP looking at, because they're going to be starting to use sort of the same systems the CFP are using, because they want to stay relevant. So I kind of take those rankings with a grain of salt, because they don't mean anything. However, at the same time, it is a nice little, status barometer.
I think AP only means a lot to a top 10 team, top 10 teams. You just know, you can't lose. You lose and you're going down. As obviously. Outside of that, 11 through 25, pretty much, it doesn't really matter to them, because people, they base it off the recruitments they got. They base it off of last year as well. But like you said, it doesn't really matter until October, maybe November at the beginning. Outside of that, like, you have a Miami team and an LSU team. They face each other. LSU gets bumped up maybe 1, and then they're a top. What was LSU?
Well, this year they actually opened at 25.
LSU 25. LSU gets bumped up to freaking 12. Miami gets dropped down to 22. So it's like, as a top 10 team, like, if we lose, we're, and as a top 25 team, you lose, well, we were 25 anyways, and you win, you get bumped up. Now, it's early September. So that right there, that's the reason why we kind of take it with a grain of salt, because no one can just jump from 25 to 12 that fast off of one game, and we don't know what this Miami team is really about, So I get mixed signals as well about it. Miami being like I said, a top 10 team and just bombing to 22 after 1 week, like, okay, we lost to 25, but maybe 25 is not 25 really. And 25 is like, well, we beat 8, but maybe 8 is not 8 really, So early in the year, it doesn't really matter except for the top 10 teams. Because like I said, if you're Miami, you lose and you go way down, especially the way they lost.
Another prime example, Virginia Tech and Florida State.
Oh, my God, yes.
They were basically the same rank. It was 19 and 20 or 21 or 20 and 21, and Virginia Tech won that game pretty handily. Jumped all the way up to 11, and Florida State's out of the rankings.
so you never know. You don't find out till basically the November times that who's really supposed to be where they're at. So that's how we figured out. So that being said, our game of the week is going to LSU and Auburn. He's got LSU. I've got Auburn. So please, tell us who's going to win that game. That being said, we broke everything down. Hope you guys loved it. We'll be back for next week. Next Thursday, be on the lookout for that for our week 3 of college football. Casual talk. So for Brian Wilkinson, I'm your host, Carlos Clayton. This is Uneducated Network, presenting Uneducated Sports Talk, which presenting college casual football talk. All sports fans, you guys know what time it is. Stay smart, stay uneducated. Peace.